All right, hello everyone, and welcome to this noon learning session about Google Docs. I see that it is 12 o'clock on the dot, so it is time that we get started. I am so glad that you've joined live today, and if you're not live and watching the recording, I'm glad that you're here with me as well. People that are live in the session, please feel free to ask questions in the chat window. I do have that open and being able to monitor that. And as well, if you want to follow up later, that is fine as well. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn off my camera and get started with our noon learning series about Google Docs. All right, for today's agenda, we're going to go over a brief overview of Docs. Now, these learning sessions are about 30 minutes each, and I kind of want to cover a lot of stuff, but I could probably spend 3 hours about Google Docs and be able to touch maybe just about everything in it. It's a very rich program, and it's gotten richer over the years. Google Docs has been around probably longer than people think. I think it started back in 2008, if I'm believing right. So 13 years has evolved quite a bit in those 13 years to what we have today. And always Google is looking how to innovate and learn more and go for tomorrow as well. So we're going to do a brief overview of Docs. I'm going to cover some things that people always want to know about. Doing page setup, adding additional fonts into Google Docs. Special characters is another question that I always get asked on. I'm going to show about word and character count and give you a tip about that. And we're going to go into voice typing as well and how you can also use voice typing for something else. I'm going to go on to a few add-ons for Google Docs as well. Add-ons even enhance the experience with Google Docs. Just 4 that I'm going to show you today. I'm going to show you how to be able to insert a live OkiCam image into your Google Docs. We're going to talk about the flat add-on for Google Docs as well. We are going to have the word cloud generator. A lot of people like to have that as well. Be able to take the words in a Google Doc and make a word cloud out of them. And I'm going to show you draft back. And even though this is not an add-on, it's an extension, it is a very awesome, super sneaky, great extension, and only teachers need to have it. Students don't need to have it for it in order to work. So it's kind of interesting, and I'll show you how that works. And then we'll do a little bit of wrap up at the end. So let's go ahead and take a brief overview of Docs. We're going to look at the different menus, the iconography in Docs, the layout of Docs, talking about the rulers and all that kind of stuff. So let me go ahead and dive into a live document. So when you're on the Google Docs screen, you are presented, let's start in the upper right hand or upper left hand corner and kind of work our way around. Presented with a lot of different things. Now, you're going to see something here that not everybody has, and that's what I'm going to talk about later on. So just ignore that for now. We'll start here in the corner. You know you're on Docs because we're in here. One tip, I always like to start Docs from Drive instead of just going to Docs to start. Why do I like to start Docs from Drive? Actually, I like to start everything from Drive because I like to keep my folders organized where things are at. I use highly descriptive terms in my folder names so that when I'm searching for things, they are in there. Plus, if I start from Drive, it's already in a folder. If I start from Docs, then I have to put it into a folder. Yes, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. It's all in how you do that. So when you first start a new doc, this is going to be blank and it's going to say untitled document here. I always make sure that I'm going to change that title right away. Otherwise, you might have a million untitled documents when you're first starting in there. Next thing you're going to see is if you want that to be a starred file in your Drive so that it would show up on your starred screen. You can choose to put it into a folder right here on the doc screen. You can do that in Drive as well, but you can move it around. And this also you can see your document status, that everything has been uploaded to the cloud. Because Google Docs also works offline. Did you know that you could take a Chromebook, or any computer for that fact, and put it and go out in the middle of a field, miles away from any kind of Wi-Fi or cellular connection, open up Google Docs and type away. When you bring that device back onto a network, it will automatically sync your changes. So it actually remembers locally and then also syncs to the cloud. So that's a great thing to be able to have some offline status with Google Docs. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of these menus in here. Our first menu, the File menu. With anything else, there's always about 3 ways to do the same thing. So if I'm looking at this document here, the first thing in my File menu says Share. Well, I have a Share button right over here too. So again, always about 3 ways to make something. You can go ahead and opt to make a new document from here. Google has some great templates as well, and you also can find those in Drive. You can choose to open another document from here. You can make a copy. You can talk about emailing this file. In my district, we are half and half. We are Office 365 and Google for staff, but all Google for students. So it's a little bit funky in the way the email works for this, but it does work in my school district. It'll work just the same in any other school district. A lot of people don't know that a Google document can be downloaded as many different type of formats here. So if you are a Google person and want to get this to a Microsoft person, you can type away in your Google document, download it as a doc, and then be able to send that to someone or even share it out of Drive. Not only can you do a doc, but you can do rich text, you can use a PDF, plain text, web page, and you can turn your Google documents into EPUB files. So if you were making ebooks, you can do that. Version history, very interesting to see about version history. I'll bring up a document later on that we can look at and see the version history of it. Rename. How could else you do that? If you simply type in here and you can rename it as well. You don't have to go file rename. Again, move, same thing that's right up here. So that's in that same one. Move to trash. You can trash out a document. There is a new thing that started in Docs or in Drive that once a document or anything goes into the trash and after 30 days, it is automatically deleted. So think about that when you're using trash, that you only have about 30 more days to get it from there. Publish to the web is another way to share your document. It makes it like a website instead of like a document. I like to do this if I'm really getting a document out to general public, because then you don't have all the googly stuff about it. You just have the information, and I'll show you about that. You can set the language of your document, page setup. We're going to come back into that more. So we have some more menus across the top. Your edit menu, your view menu, if you can take and have the rulers in there, all that kind of stuff. You can pop it into a full screen mode if you want to as well. Your insert menu, and we're going to come back to talking about special characters and about page setup and talking about breaks in here to be able to do things. The table of contents, a really awesome way to make a table of contents right in there. I also like to use the formatting of the styles, and you can all have a document outline going right here. And that if you have a multi-page document that has a lot of stuff in it, then you can choose and go from place to place without having to scroll infinitely. That insert menu has a ton of different stuff in it. Format menu. So how do we want to make our text, our paragraph styles, indenting, the line spacing. A lot of this stuff that's in this format menu, you're going to see right over here in this area as well. So if you don't want to go into format and change it, you can do it from here. Headers and footers, just like how you would on a Word document, you can also do page numbers, page orientation if you want to have portrait or landscaping. And you can clear all the formatting if you want to as well. You can even add tables if you want to. Some tools that are in here, spelling and grammar tools, word count. We're going to come back to that one in a moment. Citations, being able to explore your document, a dictionary built in. Voice typing is something we're going to come back into. Our add-ons, something else we're going to come back to. I only have a few here. There are many more that you can get to. And of course, Google will help you out. So if you forget about some things, you can actually search the menu for help, but you can also go right into Docs Help and see and be able to type in, if you have a question about how to do things, you can do that as well. Also, you can go into this training mode here, and it will take you all the way through different modules on how to use Docs as well. Lots of good stuff in there. Let's go across this toolbar from left to right. Undo or redo if you want to print your document. Not something I do very often because a lot of my Google Docs just live electronically, but of course you can print them. I've got the spell check and the grammar check turned on, so that will do that. This is your paint, your formatting. So if you do some text and you make it kind of funky with a size and underline and color, and you want to make some other text that way, you can actually copy the formatting without having to redo every one of those things on their own. Zooming in on the document so you can make this bigger on the screen. This is the style of text, so I'm talking about if you're making a document accessible, using the headers so that you have titles and headings and just normal text. Our fonts, I'll show you how to add fonts, size font, bold, italic, underline, color, highlighting. If you want to put a link text in there, you can just insert a link. I kind of like to hide my links so you don't have that big long link out there. You can just select some text and put the link there and make it clickable. Inserting an image, like I said, some of these things that we talked about here, we're formatting and inserting. Here's that same thing. We can go insert image, or we can have insert and have the same menu there. One thing that I want to also make sure that I share with you that is if you are in your menus and you see these things to the side, that you have the keyboard shortcuts there to also remind you what you can do. I'm a big keyboard shortcut person. If you can work with two hands, moving with your mouse as well as doing your keyboard shortcuts, I think that makes it very powerful to be able to do kind of two things at once there. And we have our justification, we have our spacing, numbered lists, bullet lists, your indenting, and being able to clear all the formatting. This is what mode you're in. Most likely you're going to be in an edit mode, but sometimes you're also just going to be in a suggesting mode or just viewing mode. Suggesting mode sometimes when you're working collaboratively on a doc, which is one of the most powerful things about a Google Doc is to work collaboratively, that you can suggest edits instead of just changing the document outright. So that way the person, the author of the document, can actually make the changes instead of you making the changes. You're just suggesting what the changes could be. Notice right here it says last edit was 3 hours ago, and when I hover over the top of that it says open version history. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that just so you can see what that's all about. I actually started this document on March 23rd, so just yesterday. This was just going to be a demo document, and you can see the different versions that it has gone through. So if I'm in this document and I don't necessarily like where I'm at, you can see that I put some stuff here, but I actually want it on a different document, that you could go back a version. So say you start a document and 3 days later you're like, oh, I wish I could just go back to where I was 3 days ago. This is how you can do it in version history. You can restore a current version, or you can make a copy of that version. So that way you could go back, be able to make that copy, and still have what you had 3 days later as well. So really, really powerful. Also notice that if you're collaborative working on a document, all my changes are here because I'm the only one that's been on that document, but you could also see who made the changes by the colors and everything as well. So I'm just going to go back out of this and back home. Rulers are important for your working here. You can change your indents. When you're setting up your page, you can be able to change the margins a little bit as well. People always want to know about page setup. So let me show you page setup. If I'm doing a document electronically only, I'm going to get rid of a lot of this blank space here because I want to use more of the document. In File, Page Setup, you can choose to apply this to just the whole document or to parts of it. You can change the orientation. You can change the paper size. A lot of people do this too if they're just living in an electronic document. They just make a huge piece of paper, quote unquote piece of paper, and then you just kind of keep adding to it instead of a lot of pages. You can change the page color as well. So if you want your background of your document to have a little color. And like I said, if I just want to live this in an electronic world, I'm just going to change a lot of these just to this 0.2 because it just gives me more space to type on. Would I want this if I were printing? Probably not, because we would worry about it getting cut off in the printer. But if it's just living in an electronic world, we can have this and be able to use more of that space on our Google Doc. Adding fonts. So one of my favorite things to do is to have fonts. I don't want to over font someone though. I want to have some nice clear fonts. If you're in your font tools here, this used to be way at the bottom, but the Google did a good thing and put it right at the top. Now, can you go to sites and download fonts and use those? No, they have to come from right from Google, Google themselves. I have an awesome reference here for you that you'll be able to come to that has the Google Fonts site. This is great because you'll be able to see what the font looks like before that you add it. And they have some of these ones that are out here that are popular. I like that you can actually put your own sentence in so you can see what it would look like. So if I say that I want the new and learning series, and I can see that, ooh, I like the way that that looks, or ooh, Della Gothic 1, that looks like an interesting document or font there. I can go back to that, go into my fonts, and I say I want more fonts. And that was called Della. What was it called? Della Gothic 1. Let's see, Gothic. Della Gothic 1. All fonts. That's not showing in there, but that is a way to get that. But you can see all your fonts. You can browse them as well. You can see which ones you have loaded already as well. I'm kind of getting a lot of fonts in here. Some of them I don't use very often though. I like really clear, concise fonts. One of my favorite fonts is Poppins. Just looks easy on the eye to read. I'm also kind of an Arial user. You won't see too much Comic Sans from me, but hey, it's got its place too. So you can add your fonts there. Again, you can't just go to any old site and be able to download a font. You have to use the fonts through Google. That's one of the differences between Google and like Microsoft Word. Special characters. Okay, so if I was to type out a recipe and I want to say that I want to bake this at 350 degrees, and you're like, well, where is that degrees at? This is where it's at. Now there's a couple ways to do it. If I go into insert and I am going to do special characters. Now I could look for it here. All right, so I have that degree sign, so I can do that in here. But I can also draw it, which is kind of fun. You can kind of draw it with your mouse, or if you have a touchscreen device, you can actually try to draw out what you want. How about something else? Let me go ahead and insert that so we have that. So if we were typing out a recipe, what if we needed to do, we're going to go El Nino. And you're like, no, I need to have this with that special mark on it. So I need to insert a special character. So I'm going to go ahead and draw it out because I just want to see if I can do that. If I do an N with that little thing on top, look, Google recognized what I needed to have here with the tilde, and I can put that in, and notice, let me make this a little bit bigger for you all to see. Notice that it inserted that special character right there from the way I drew it. So if you couldn't remember, what's that thing called? Oh yeah, tilde. You can actually draw it and Google can recognize and it will actually put that special character in there. I think that's one of the way cooler things. Word and character count. So I'm just going to open up a different document here. I took the text from President Kennedy's moonshot speech here and just kind of put it into a Google Doc just so I'd have some text ready to go. Now, if I go into the Tools menu and I can do word count, notice it also gives me the keyboard shortcut. It tells me how many pages, how many words, how many characters. Quick tip. If you're ever filling out a form online, I always like to to open up a Google Doc and type everything there first, because have you been ever filling out a form and you're like, get into it and then everything erases? Then you got to start all over. Well, if you have a Google Doc, you have everything there. Plus, sometimes they say 1,000 characters only or 250 characters only. Then you can type everything in a Google Doc, edit, get it to that 250 count limit, copy and paste it into that online form. I use that all the time, and I keep it because sometimes you end up, like if you're applying for grants or something like that, you end up typing the same information over and over and over again. Word count. Awesome, awesome, awesome tool. And voice typing. Let's take a look at this. I'm going to go ahead and be in our original document here, and I'm going to go into the tools and I'm going to start voice typing. What voice typing is literally you talk into it and it types it out for you. So I'm just going to do a little split screen here. And I pulled up the Gettysburg Address just so that I would have some text ready to read from. And I'm going to go into my document. I'm going to do Tools, Voice Typing. When I'm ready to start voice typing, I'm going to click the microphone. fourscore and 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now notice it didn't put any of the punctuation in there, but you can actually speak that and Google will put it in there. So I'm going to delete that and I'm going to do the same thing again, and notice I'm going to add punctuation this time. 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent, comma, a new nation, comma, conceived in liberty, comma, and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal, period, new paragraph. So not only can you add in your punctuation, but notice I said new paragraph at the end. So I could actually go to another paragraph and it would just keep typing for me. What a time saver, if for you or for your students to be able to do voice typing. Is it always perfect? No. Works best if you have a quiet environment. But to that end, did you know that if you just play back a file, it will actually listen to it? So if you had something that had a recording and you started playing it back, it'll actually voice type that out. Let's give that a try. All right, so I'm going to go to my channel. I'm going to go to my videos here, and we'll start this one right here. Hi everyone, I'm going to demonstrate to you the new recording feature that is built in with Chrome 89. Chrome 89 was just released, and make sure that you get your Chromebook updated so that you can try this out as well. How do you access the screen recording feature? Well, there are a couple ways to do it. The easiest way to do it is just to go down in your lower right-hand corner. So I simply was playing a YouTube video, and by turning on voice typing, I'm able to get a transcript. Now notice it doesn't have any punctuation in it, but it is something. It gives you that transcript to be able to build from. Voice typing, I highly recommend you do it. Let's look at some add-ons here. First one, the OkiCam add-on. I'm gonna go ahead and close voice typing, and I'm going to get myself into full screen here. I'm going to go ahead and do a new page because I can. And what if I needed to put a picture of something in my document? I have the add-on of this OkiCam for Google Docs. I'm just going to go ahead and run it. and I can actually choose my image. Now, this has my OkiCam on it, but it's not quite the right way. So now it's the right way. If I wanted to be able to put something down here, I can actually take this, take an image of it, and put it, oh, there it's working. Put it right inside my document. Now you don't have to have a OkiCam for this. You can actually use the webcam on your computer as well. So I'm going to go ahead and change my camera. And I need to flip that around again. Cool. And I could actually go right up to my webcam here and be able to take a picture of something and be able to insert it right into my document. How simple, how easy. Now I know there's other ones that can do that, but I think this one is really simple and easy to do. So that's OkiCam. Let's take a look at flat. Now this is kind of a specialized one, but it's one I love to share because people can share it with their other staff people that they know. Did you know that you can actually insert music into your Google Docs? So once you choose your staff, you can actually start to type out some music. And I could change my note values and all that kind of stuff. I can even play it back. I'm going to play it back one more time. That's just for grins to play it back, but then I hit insert and it actually is going to make that into a graphic file. How great for music teachers and for students to be able to put music right into their Google Doc. Amazing. The next add-on, the word cloud generator. I'm going to go back to my big document that I had here of President Kennedy's speech, and I'm going to do that add-on of the word cloud generator, and I'm going to choose a modern because I like the modern one the best. And this is going to take a moment, and it's actually going to make a word cloud out of the text that is in here. Amazing. Now, I think the better thing to do to show students, it says don't drop common words. So if you have a student that uses a lot of the all the time, if I do that and adjust it, looks like President Kennedy used a lot of the in his speech as well, because that word is the biggest. And you can actually just download that graphic and use it as well. Now the next one that I want to share with you is the draft back extension. This is a demonstration of it. Now remember, this is an extension, not necessarily an add-on. So what the extension does is it actually takes your Google document and it'll play it back as a movie. So I have this one that I've already done just so I had it ready to go. There's no audio in this, so I'm just going to let it play out. So I had this document. I go into the draft back, and it takes a moment to render that video, and it's actually going to play the document back for you. Not only are you getting the words that are being typed out, okay, and then, oh, let's see, maybe I typed and I didn't like it, so maybe I typed something again, delete, retype. It's showing the time and the date that the document was worked on as well. Very interesting. I started this document back on October 29th, okay? And as the document plays out, you're gonna see that date change when I went and did some more edits onto it. I'll let it play a little bit further because there's some interesting things that come out here at the end. Wherever you see stars, that is where like pictures are at. Those don't show back into your document. Notice that I'm way up on March 2nd for this document now, that I have edits on it. When you get done, you can also look at the document graph and statistics. You can see where in the document changes and how long the person was on the document and how many revisions that they actually made. Draft back. Excellent, excellent, excellent addition to your Google Docs. So I knew that there would be a lot here, and it is already 12:29, and I like to keep these at the half an hour mark. Now, this is our little bit of wrap up for the day. I am more than willing to stay on with the people that are here live if you have questions, but I will be stopping the recording shortly. But before I do that, just want to make sure that you know that on my website here, you're going to have everything that I talked about today with links to everything, including this awesome Google Docs cheat sheet from our people at Custom Guide. So if you're ever wondering about something in a document and keyboard shortcuts to go with it, you can actually click on these things and learn more about it. Awesome, awesome resource right there. You're going to get a link to this in your wrap-up email. In the wrap-up email, there's also a quick 3-question survey. Take a moment and fill it out. I use those to make sure that I'm really doing and getting better at my presentation skills. With that, I'm going to close out the recording, but the Google Meet is going to stay live. Thank you for joining the recording today. Remember the Meet people, we're going to stay live if you have any questions, but thank you for watching this today and have a good one.